As Israel admits their troops killed 3 hostages after mistaking them for a threat, around 100 people gather in Paris in support of hostages held in Gaza by Hamas.
The Russian Defense Ministry has reported it shot down at least 32 Ukrainian drones over occupied Crimea.
Israel has admitted their troops killed 3 hostages after mistaking them for a threat. Images released by the Israeli army show what they say are Israeli soldiers fighting Hamas in Khan Yunis, including at one of the homes of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. An IDF spokesperson made the announcement.
במהלך הקרבות בסג'עיה, כוח צה"ל זיהה בשוגג 3 ישראלים חטופים כאיום. כתוצאה מכך, הכוח ירה לעברם והם נהרגו.
Earlier, the Israeli army confirmed the death of a French Israeli. Around 100 people gathered in Paris in support of hostages held in Gaza.
Il reste malheureusement que 3 Français et non plus 4 depuis cette nuit en détention, morts ou disparus ou en otage dans les tunnels par les monstres du Hamas. Et nous sommes là tout simplement pour justement ne pas oublier jusqu'au dernier otage.
So far, 110 hostages have been freed and 129 remain captive without it being possible to know if they're alive.
The Russian Defense Ministry has reported that at least 32 Ukrainian drones were shot down over the occupied Crimea in the late hours of Friday night and early Saturday morning. Social media users tell about explosions as well as in Genishevsk, a town just north of Crimea, also occupied by Russian forces. No casualties or damages have been reported so far. Meanwhile, Ukraine reported fresh Russian attacks on Kherson, Mykolaiv and Kyiv. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky earlier visited Lviv in western Ukraine to pay tribute to fallen soldiers. He also took the time to meet friends and families of fallen Ukrainians. There were some outstanding twists and turns at this month's EU summit. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz convinced his Hungarian counterpart Viktor Orban to leave the council room temporarily so that the remaining 26 EU leaders could make a unanimous decision on Ukrainian accession to the EU. But for Scholz, this can't be a universal solution.
Aber es kann nicht jedes Mal durch vor die Tür gehen gelöst werden. Das ist für besondere Momente, wie zum Beispiel die Entscheidung, die wir jetzt getroffen haben.
Viktor Orban did block the proposal of an additional 50 billion euros of aid to Ukraine, but EU leaders are confident they could overcome this in the future. President of the European Council, Charles Michel, called the decision to greenlight EU accession for Georgia, Moldova and Ukraine as a very powerful political message and a message of hope.
Georgia's parliament celebrated being granted EU candidate status a day after the decision was taken. Friday's parliamentary session opened to the sound of the European Union anthem. There were also celebrations in the streets of Tbilisi, an event organised by Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili. On Thursday evening, during an EU Council session, the decision to open the first door to Georgia was announced. An application for membership was lodged in March 2022, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The whereabouts of imprisoned Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny remained unknown on Friday. The Russian prison authorities said he'd been transferred from the prison where he'd been held since June 2022, but did not specify where. According to his lawyers, they've had no contact with their client since the 5th of December. Members of his staff said that his transfer was due to the announcement that he was going to campaign against the re-election of President Vladimir Putin.